Sorry, I gotta check if my angles are looking right. Hi, Empress Justice here. If you'd like to check out daily readings, you can check them out on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. You can also check out the latest reading that I've done, which is Full Moon and Jester, which you can check out on Empress Justice Tarot YouTube, and also feel free to check out the June 2022 reading on Empress Justice Tarot YouTube. Now, I've got a cold, so I'm not entirely sure if I'm going to be doing many more of these lives, but I will be continuing to do readings even when I'm not doing the lives. So I'll still be doing the readings, no problem with that, but the lives might be a bit more restricted. I may or may not do them. I'm not promising that I'll be offline. I'm not promising that I'll be online. I'm just keeping it loose because I'm prioritizing how I'm going to be feeling in the moment. I'm not sleeping very well due to the cold. And I don't know how long it's going to take for me to recover, because my immune system is really fucked because of, you know, the electronic weaponry being fired on me all the time. You know, it means my immune system's quite fucked most of the time anyway. So I'm not promising that I'm going to be offline, but I'm not promising that I'm going to be online either. Just keeping it loose until I get better. Now, update on me. Everything's been quiet. Nothing's been too over the top. You know, can't take the blood test tomorrow because of the cold, which is unfortunate. But hey ho, you get what you get in it. But yeah. Other than that, emotionally, I'm doing well. I'm just really. I'm just irritated at what other TIs are going through right now. So I'm going to run down a list of people here. I'm not going to mention their names, but I'm going to talk to you about some of their experiences that they go through. I've uploaded it onto my, well, not uploaded it, but I've shared it on my Facebook. Just a couple of examples that really give you an indication as to how fucking miserable these perps actually are, right? So let me just find them now because I shared their statuses. So I've got to click on my profile. I swear to you, these perps are so miserable. So there's one TI who has been posting a lot under my comments. At first, I was kind of irritated with it, but then when you see what this person is actually going through, it's, yeah. So this is what this person says, this TI says. It's not me, but it's another TI. Under the severe torture, head, liver, kidney, and spine are all being targeted, and then the large muscle cramps plus almost constant microwave cooking along with that. Gas attacks, smell like roses via V2K while passing the sweet smelling poison on Sunday, then switched on the rotten eggs like gas for the very next day. So basically what she's talking about is apparently perps in America are also hitting the targets of poison gas. Now, a TI down here has told me about TIs being hit with poison gases in the UK, but I don't know very much about the poison gas element. It wouldn't surprise me because we're dealing with military technology and military techniques, right? Come on, man. Really? So basically, it says that, yeah, let me have a look. Yeah, so when it comes to the poison gas, right? Targeted individuals in the UK have talked about the poison gas. I wouldn't be surprised if those were used with experimentees in the UK. I wouldn't be surprised if that was used. But I tend to stay away from the discussion of poison gas because I don't know much about that yet. Okay? I keep hearing things like, you know, mold and Morgellons and stuff like that. And I'm not doubting any of those things are real. I'm just saying that I need, like, something more to go on. Do you understand what I mean? I need to learn more about these gases and how they work. But according to this TI right here, Not only do they use poison gases, but they also use different smells. And they also use V2K, which is voice to skull, meaning the frequencies are sent directly to a person's bones in their ear in order to communicate something. So she's getting that as well. All you have to do is say you're hearing voices in your head, and that could easily be misconstrued as schizophrenia. It's very easy to synthesize. So she's got V2K as well, this person. And then she said she was woken up twice last night. This was on the 6th of June. She was woken up twice on the 5th of June just to be told that her day of execution is near. So when you're a TI, I don't care if it's voice to skull. I don't care if it's street theater. I don't care if it's cyber harassment. I don't care if it's the use of the electronic weapons themselves. At some point, a TI is going to have an attempt made on their lives or a threat made to their lives. Now, this is horrific. Now, for anybody who's not familiar with what's going on, I get it, it's horrific, but it's just a day in the life for us TIs. And that's not even the worst that we go through. You're literally hearing what this TI is saying. Head, liver, kidney, and spine being targeted. Remember the pain that I went through last year with my spine being targeted, and that was just my spine. This woman is getting it in her head, in her liver, and in her kidney, along with her spine, and she's got to be at least two decades older than me. At least. And she's going through all that. But let me continue. They woke me twice last night just to tell me that my day of execution is near. They're preparing you for the execution. I was and still am limping on my left leg from the DEW hitting my left knee, hip, and the ankle. I've been hitting the hip and the knee with regards to electronic weaponry as well. But again, because I'm considerably younger than this person, I can recover from that fairly quickly because I'm fairly young still, right? But this person is at least 2 decades older than me, so you can imagine how much that affects her. The close to 2-inch laceration on my left upper thigh, caused by the DEW burning 2 weeks ago, is healing. Tortured and abused in a small Florida town called Sebring, USA, the 6th of June, 2022. So that's one TI, right? That's what one TI is going through. And remember, this is an older person. And she goes through that shit every single fucking day. But this right here is not, it's just standard torture. It's a day in the life of TIs. Getting death threats. People using V2K, botching our names up. Thinking they're cute, like, nah. And the death threats, again, death threats are a pound a penny when you're a TI. You get them all the fucking time. So this is another TI that I'm reading from. That was the last one. This one right here is a 51-year-old. That's another American. She said, I'm 51 and my skin has changed. So I bought some new makeup. Was practicing today, followed by painful microwave attacks to my face all afternoon. So this is exactly what I'm talking about when I say when you try to do anything positive with your life, you get hit with electronic weapons. I used to get the same thing when I was practicing keyboard. When I was in supported housing, I used to practice keyboard. It wasn't just the psychological harassment I had to deal with. It was also the electronic torture. Sometimes I get it on my hands. Sometimes I get it on my head. If you do anything positive in any remote way whatsoever, there's always going to be some form of psychological torture or electronic torture to try to derail you from that. The idea is to break your spirit enough for you to long for death before they finally give it to you. That's why they keep engaging in these tactics and these techniques against us. All right? When I tell you, these gang stalkers and these people who engage in these unlawful experimentations against us, they are a miserable set of people. They're a miserable set of people. The only enjoyment they can get is out of harming others, literally. They're a miserable set of people. They really, really are. So I'm not lying to you when I say this shit is really, really happening. It's not a mental illness. It's not happening to people. It's not that TIs can't be mentally ill, because how are you going to go through torture? If you get a cut on your arm and it's a minor cut, you're going to say, ow, right? So how do you go through torture of this nature for decades and not have any effects on your mental health and not have any effects on your emotional health? The problem is that the mental health is used to diminish evidence and to dispel our claims rather than examining where the mental illness comes from. Because mental illness is down to two things: stress and brain damage. You're not going to be triggered over and over again just by a memory. Somebody has to be doing something to stress you out, and in many cases deliberately. There's no way you're going to go through trauma like that and not go through anything emotionally or mentally. There is no way in hell. But the way the psychiatric industry is set up, it's set up to basically separate the mental illness from what the person is going through, to separate the mental illness from the trauma. And that's something I don't get, because the thing is, how can you say somebody has paranoid schizophrenia and you can't see it, and you don't have a brain scan to ascertain whether or not the CR1 has been damaged? How can you call somebody having depression and yet not have a brain scan to ascertain what parts of the brain are revealing to you that that person has depression? How are you going to ascertain that somebody has anxiety, and once again, you don't have brain scans to show where that pops up on the brain? How the fuck do you know? And how the fuck do you know that that comes directly as a result of childhood trauma? This is another thing that psychiatry does that I don't like. They go down the childhood trauma route because it gets the government out of their responsibility. It gets corporate companies out of their responsibility. Anything that you can blame on the family, it gets corporate. So basically I'm going to sound controversial when I say this, right? So basically they want to take as many rights away from parents, in which to raise their children as much as possible, right? Now, this is coming from somebody who hates any type of corporal punishment or any type of that stuff with a passion, right? But you have to read between the lines here. They want to increasingly take rights away from parents as to how they want to raise their children. And yet, when the time comes for society to take responsibility for how it contributes to the rise in autism, how it contributes to the the rise in anxiety, how it contributes to the rise in depression, how it contributes to the rise in borderline personality disorder. They want to take the rights away from parents, but yet when society has to pay the bill of all the abuse that the child and the adult is subjected to, now we want to blame childhood trauma. Now we want to blame the parents. Now we want to hold the parents accountable at the precise moment where they have less agency over how they raise their children than they have ever had. Maybe in the 60s, holding the parents accountable might have meant something. I mean, it always means something, don't get me wrong. That's not what I'm saying. Maybe in the 50s and 60s, it might have meant something. In the 40s and 30s, it might have meant something to hold parents accountable, because parents have more sovereignty. They have more agency over their child. A lot of these parents were whipping these kids' asses. That would have been helpful back then. But no, you have to do it at a specific time where parents are being held more accountable than ever and have less sovereignty than ever over how they manage and raise their kids. Like, something's not clicking. All of this is so that corporations and corporations such as the pharmaceutical industry, the defense industry, all of this is so that these corporations and this government, they can take as little responsibility as possible for the role they played in the rise of mental health issues, in the rise of violence, in the rise of this, that, and the third. Let's blame the parents. Let's go back to childhood trauma rather than examining why the fuck you have people on a list to be experimented on with electronic weapons in the first place. Let's not examine why you have untested medications being used on children and adults. Let's not question why elderly people in this country are being left to die. Nah, let's blame childhood trauma and accuse anybody who calls the government out of being crazy. Something in the buttermilk ain't clean. Now, for me, this is what I believe. I believe you don't raise your hand to kids. Now, I know this is rich coming from me because I've there have been a couple of kids here that I've been cussing out left and right, but when push comes to shove, do you smack kids? No. I don't even think it's right. I don't even think it's right to cuss them out. And I've cussed kids out before. I don't even think that's right. Okay? And I am very much a believer in prevention over cure and restorative justice. If you were to ask me what my beliefs were, I'm sure a lot of people would call me very fucking left. I am very, very fucking left. I'm very live and let live. I'm very like, nah, we protect the rights of women. We protect the rights of marginalized people, including kids. Okay? I am very much in that school of thought. So I beg you, don't at me with the bullshit. But when it comes to changing trends and changing anything socially that changes, any social changes that are made, they're usually made when let me find a way to put this. When there are changes made in society, let's say, for instance, that like back in the 40s and 50s, white and black people were segregated in America, right? There's segregation in America. An example of what I'm talking about would be if black people started thriving and having their own businesses and having their own communities and thus becoming prosperous from the segregation that was foisted on us. We didn't choose it, but it was foisted on us, but we found a way to make something out of it. That is when it would shift to integration. Because if we're having enough clout, if we own land and we have enough clout to be able to make legitimate policies, if we're having enough clout like that, then it would make sense to shift it at just the moment when we're threatening to kind of have too much power. So the way social trends work, I don't care if it's integration, I don't care if it's segregation. The second that citizens start having power for themselves and they start having their own agency within the structure that's been created for them, that's when that structure shifts. And it's heading the same way now. Integration, segregation. Anything to do with the marginalized, it was not meant to benefit us. It was meant to keep us marginalized. But if we find that we are thriving in segregation and we're thriving in integration, then at some point you've got to shift the dynamic before a new power threatens to take over. Where I'm going with this is Where am I going with this? Where I'm going with this is when it comes to electronic weaponry and how psychiatry is used to cover up the truth, it's done to facilitate those who have the wealth in maintaining the wealth. It's there to facilitate the maintenance of wealth by people who have the majority of it. That's what it's there for. So when it comes to targeted individuals being electronically attacked and psychiatry stepping in and trying to blame the parents and blame that, anything that they can do to blame the individual rather than the entire setup, it doesn't just fulfill the purpose of making us look crazy and defaming us. It's a lot more than that. What it also does is it takes the liability out of corporate hands, out of government hands, out of, the medical industry or what have you. It takes, and out of the military as well. It takes liability away from them and it puts it back onto us, is what I'm saying. And the reason I say that, the reason I brought all those examples up is because when it comes to powerful people, I don't care if you're talking about those who are really responsible for the gang stalking. I don't care if you're talking about people in government. I don't care if you're talking about billionaires. They will always find a way to make something benefit for themselves. So when it comes to this Havana syndrome stuff, when it comes to this targeted individual stuff, the way in which these companies benefit, right, is in using the trauma that we have sustained from being tortured in order to discredit our torture. That fulfills a lot of financial obligations, a lot of legal obligations, because then the liability is taken away from them. That's why we have the let's blame your childhood caveat. Is that the right word? I don't know. Where did I get the word caveat from? I've got to look this up. Okay. No, yeah. Caveat's not the right word. So that's basically the modus operandi. Those are the right words. The modus operandi of the privileged is to make stay with me. I'm going to find the words. Stay with me. Is to make fault more individualized and credit more universalized. So corporate and government are putting themselves in the position to take the credit. If they can't take credit, they'll just throw us with so many mistakes that we won't know what to look at. But if they possibly can, what they will do is they will take credit for the good things that they've done or the breakthroughs that they've made. But when it comes to actually things that they've done wrong and the effects that they leave on people, they individuate that. What that means in this case is that they blame you for your responses and they use your responses against you in order to take the blame off themselves. And again, this fulfills a financial and political and societal function. Because if they're not liable, then they ain't got to pay out. And if they ain't got to pay out, that means they don't have to be completely honest about what they're doing. And if they are completely honest about what they're doing, they don't have to be direct with it. I don't know if any of that makes sense, but in summary, the reason why psychiatric professions blame us for the trauma that we sustained from being tortured and try to bring it back to our childhood is to take liability away from the defense systems and the pharmaceuticals and the councils and the, medical staff and the community policing that has all been a part of our torture. That's the whole point of individuating it and bringing it back to, well, what was your childhood like? My childhood wasn't bad enough for me to have back pain, that like a back, hip, and my childhood wasn't so bad that I couldn't fucking walk. I know that much. My childhood wasn't so bad that I couldn't walk in my fucking 30s. Like, stop it. So, whilst childhood wounds leaving us more likely to suffer from heart disease and strokes and stuff like that, all of that is valid. But again, it's coming at the precise time where government and corporations are more involved in our lives than ever. Check the timing. Check the timing. Again, left as fuck over here. I am not one of these homophobic fucking racist pieces. Nah, I'm not one of them people. I'm left as fuck, but you have to check the timing. You have to check the timing. If you're coming in and out of any social phase or anything, it's because the marginalized are starting to benefit from it. And when it comes to Havana syndrome, targeted individuals, I bet you any money, as soon as targeted individuals start to benefit from it, that is when we're going to start to see more killings. That's even more than we have already. That's when we're going to start to see more killings. That's when I feel like the war is going to start. When targeted individuals find a way. Let me wave to Tony. Yeah, I got you, baby. I got you. As soon as targeted individuals, like en masse, find a way to live with the torture that we've been through and find a way to make it work to our advantage, I guarantee you that's when the wars are going to start. That's when the slaughter's going to start. That's when the civil war's going to come up. That's when ordinary war's going to come up. That's when disease is going to go through the roof. That's when death is going to be sky. The death toll is going to be sky fucking high. Trust me. That's when the death toll is going to be sky fucking high. As soon as targeted individuals find a way to use it to our advantage and to use it to, to our betterment, as soon as we find a way around it, like, and I'm not talking about like a couple of targeted individuals here and there. I'm talking about if all of us start fucking making shit work, that's when we're going to start to see more killings. Because again, keep people distracted. Keep people distracted. And keep people distracted with as many mistakes and as many fuck-ups and as many disasters as possible. There's a pattern to all of this. I wish I could explain it in a way that just wasn't gobbledygook, man. I feel like I'm talking shit, but it's like I know what I'm saying. It's just finding the words to say it. Just finding the words to say it, man. That's the thing that I'm lacking. And again, that's down to the Havana syndrome too. You can thank the torturers for that one. But yeah, everything that we're going through, it's all to stop a certain group of people from ascending too high. Because once a group of people ascend too high, then everything changes. And when it comes to this gang stalking shit and, targeted individuals being treated as crazy, it's all part and parcel of that whole setup, the whole stinking setup of fucking greed and malice and hatred. Again, the perps are some of the most miserable people in existence, and I'm not exaggerating. Just get off on cruelty. These people are garbage. Yeah, so I gotta go. I don't know if any of that made sense, boy. I got a cold. I got a cold and I got Havana syndrome. I don't know if any of that shit made sense. But watch the timing, that's all I'm saying. Never ask what's going on. Never ask what's going on. Always ask why now. So anyway, I gotta go. I gotta get over this fucking cold, bro. Anyway, I'll see you guys later. My fellow TR, stay strong. Shout out to Targeted Tony for joining me. I love you guys so much. Please take care. Peace and blessings. Bye-bye.